Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show on earth, the Investigative Journal. Greg Anthony here. Another day, a lot of stories to cover today. I want to talk about satanic worshiping in the Vatican, which I'll get to. Also finish up the stories we were doing about Mother Teresa yesterday from the eyes of a Catholic nun that worked with her, and just add a little bit on that story. And I'm going to tell you, you can get a lot from certain people on the internet who've researched her. And it's one of those kind of stories that you got to select who you tell it to, because they're going to not believe that this holy woman could have been a front for corruption. And I doubt she didn't know that, because according to many people who worked with her, the money never came back to the poor. And we're still looking for billions of dollars. And they're still collecting money on her behalf. She has over 500 groups working around the world under the name of Mother Teresa. And it's an interesting story. It's another one of these Vatican scams that we like to cover here. We did it on the Mother Mary apparitions with Fatima and Medjugorje. And I thought first, though, we turned it over to England with Donald Trump, from one of the elite bloodlines of Scotland, is there to pay homage to one of their leaders, the Queen. And you have to understand that there's a triumvirate in this world that we know little about. Most people know little about. We know a lot about it on this show. And so let's talk about why Trump is there and the significance of that visit. Not so much between America and trade relations with England, but there's a deep elite club that have been working together to control the world, basically, through deception. And there's three major players. One is in the Vatican, and we call that, the city of the Vatican. It's a separate city within Italy, under its own laws and everything. It's not really a religion. It's one of the smallest, it is the smallest country in the world. Next to the one I could form, any one of us, I guess, could form a religion under our Constitution and carve out a country. Couldn't we? Get a little farm in Kansas and carve out your own country. That's exactly what the Vatican did, but they did it through the help of Mussolini, right? The dictator back in the time when they established this city. Well, it's really the satanic arm, the religious arm, so to speak, of the New World Order. Then we moved to England. And in England, there's London, and most people don't realize that the city of London is not a part of England. They do the same thing there. And so now you got a Muslim mayor there, and he's always criticizing anything that has to do with sovereignty, Brexit, nationalism, etc. And their role in the city of London is financial. It's the financial hub of this elite, august body of deceptive New World Order Vaticanites. And then we move over to the District of Columbia, which is not a part of the United States. They've carved out another little country within a country. And basically, to cut to the chase, they all got these obelisks, which are worshiping, and the big one is right in, by the White House, all worshiping ISIS. But yet, we're fighting ISIS, right? And so check out who ISIS is. So they're worshiping this phallic symbol. They're all Satanists, deep down inside, or Luciferians, or whatever you could call it. Or maybe they're just involved in this elite group that want to control all of us. And they're doing a pretty good job of it. And basically the United States, they got a flag that represents all these three countries, or separate entities within a country. They got the flag that represents Washington, D.C., London, City of London, and Vatican City. And our role is basically the military arm of this elite group. So now Trump is there. Did you realize that Trump and Clinton are cousins from the same bloodlines? Yeah. Very interesting, because you know that old saying, anybody can become president in the United States? Well, I put a caveat on it, and that is, as long as you're from one of the 13 bloodlines, the rich are from Charlemagne. A lot of our presidents were from Charlemagne. It's interesting. So that's how you become president. You have to be from one of those bloodlines first. And so they carried on. They go back to honor the queen, who's high up in this order, this pecking order. And let me get back to this in a minute. But I did want to mention something. People have criticized and said, well, how do you know that the Democratic and the Republican Party work together using the Hegelian dialectic? Although on the surface they appear to be at loggerheads and have completely different views. Globalism versus make America great again. But that's a game. That's a theatrical performance they're putting on, instructed by the powers that be. Yeah. Vatican-led New World Order. They've been doing it for years. How do you think these stupid politicians can know this stuff? Come on. They got to get their marching orders from somewhere. And it's a very orchestrated plan they have now going. This theatrical performance that Trump's putting on is probably, bar none, the best political job or best political theater they've ever done. In America, anyway. And it's really got the people captivated. They're not thinking of anything else. And by the time we're done with this Trump phenomena, America's going to be gone away into the dust. Oh, that beautiful system, capitalism, just couldn't make it, could it? No. You know why? Because we never got the Jesuits out of this damn country. They should have never been here to begin with. And the world would be a better place. So every day I bring you another fact why I show how this really works. Now, if you've been following this story, there's a real famous lawyer named Alan Dershowitz, Harvard grad, defense lawyer. He's been a lefty his whole life, fighting for civil rights, etc. He's now a law professor at Harvard. You know his name. He's, well respected. And he's always been a Clintonite. Okay? So listen to what's happened. So with this whole Trump phenomena, Alan has decided to come over to the left wing, or the right wing, and appear on Fox News now. They won't let him on CNN because he is standing up for the rights of Donald Trump, supposedly. But listen to this story. Now, we know that they concocted this phony Russian story, and there's no evidence that he colluded with the Russians or everything. And the evidence now pinpoints to Hillary Clinton actually doing this through paying for a fake dossier on Trump that made him look bad before the election. And when that didn't take place, she had her minions in the FBI and the Obama administration, because it's hard to separate them, get an insurance plan to ruin his presidency. So Hillary's behind it, right? And so yesterday I was listening to one of the right-wing shows on Fox, and Dershowitz was on. And I was always interested, why is he kind of jumped ship? And he's using the idea that civil rights is the reason. And no matter what party it is, they should be treated equal. Well, then I think it was Hannity that asked him, but listen, Alan, what do you think about Hillary? And he kind of said, I know you're a fan of Hillary's, but what do you think about this? When James Comey got up and actually gave you all the elements of an indictment for violation of the Espionage Act by having a private server in her house and, allowing, this is against the law, you got secret information that's in the hands of the Chinese, in the hands of Russia, anybody can hack those things. And she's running a mom-and-pop server out of her house, illegal as hell. And it's at best gross negligence, which is still a violation under that statute. But Comey came out and basically laid out all the elements of the crime and then said, but no rational prosecutor would do this, and it was a fake investigation. They'd already written her exoneration before she was even interviewed. So we know this was all a hoax. and they were protecting her. And there's two standards of justice: one if you're a globalist, and one if you're a conservative. At least we're playing their game right now. And this is why I know it's a game. And I know they're working together, because this wouldn't normally take place in a real world. It's a bizarro world they create. At least if you've gone to first-year law school and understand this. So Dershowitz should know this, right? He's a Harvard grad. He's, well respected. And everybody thinks he's one of the smartest geniuses on the face of the earth concerning the law. But when Hannity said, well, don't you think they should run an investigation on Clinton again and charge her, at least get a grand jury of our peers and to look at all these facts, when Comey actually set up with Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton? Remember that famous meeting on the tarmac prior to this interview with the FBI, which was really crazy. And if you know any kind of FBI interviews, they'd already written that she was not going to get charged. And then they bring her in, but they bring her in with a witness, a lawyer, and they didn't even tape record the interview, the 302 they call it. And that never gets done, so it was a setup job. But you know what Dershowitz, being a Civil Rights Act, attorney, should say, yeah, I think, we should go ahead and, try to, put the facts out there in a fair situation. But he says, no, I'm satisfied with exonerating, not charging Clinton. And I'm listening, and I go, why? And he goes, because it's precedent that other secretaries of state have had private servers in their house. Oh, really? But is it precedent, Mr. Dershowitz, that when she was subpoenaed, she got rid of, acid washed 33,000 emails, broke her cell phone so she couldn't even give the information on the emails in that server to Congress? Is that precedent? Come on. Dershowitz is in her pocket, and he's playing this game. So there's another example of how the left and the right work together, and you shouldn't fall for it. Right? Okay. So we got that off the table. Now, I'm just thinking about this meeting in England, this cozy meeting between Trump and the Queen and all this hype, and, it just makes me sick when you really think about it. State dinners and walking, I don't care who the president is, it's always the same. So I started thinking, this connection between England and America is more than just trade and more than just we want our, freedom from this oppressive government. It was only putting on a 3% tax at the time. There was more to this. And so where do all of these things, the so-called Illuminati, the Vatican, the Jesuits, Freemasonry, this secret group, where do they all come together? And I said a long time ago that the Founding Fathers had a secret, separate agenda for this country, not one that was told to the masses. And even Charles Thompson, who was the recorder, the man of truth, who recorded every Continental Congress meeting and knew everything behind the scenes, said he could not tell the truth about what these men are really like. And that the agency of providence, without the agency of providence, this country would have never been formed. And the agency of providence, folks, is the Vatican, is right what he's telling you. He didn't say providence, because providence was a word they used back then to talk about Christ or God. It was the agency thereof. We know who that agency was. So then I started looking, and I was, thinking back, and I said, boy, I've forgotten about this club. And somebody said, well, what club? I said, did you ever hear of the Hellfire Club? Somebody said, no, I didn't. It sounds like, is that where the Hells Angels meet? I said, no. This goes long before the Hells Angels ever got together, okay? Long before the Hells Angels. So what is this Hellfire Club, and how does it relate to what's going on in England today, what went on years ago during the French Revolution, or even the American Revolution and forming this country, and even before that? And now, this was really a secret satanic cult called the Hellfire Club, okay? You don't read about it much in history books, which was associated with the early Freemasonry, okay? The early Freemasonry. Okay, so we're talking about this Hellfire Club. Now, it was a secret satanic cult which was associated with early Freemasonry. And when this connection became known between the Satanists of the Hellfire Club and the elite Freemasonry back, when this was getting all started, Freemasonry and the elite club had to make some radical moves here, changes. Bad press, right? First, Freemasonry publicly proclaimed that it had nothing to do with the Hellfire Club. Now that reminds me of when I was in Rome in the 80s, when the Vatican publicly put out a notice to everyone, we despise Freemasonry and we're not a part of it. And then the French and the Italian papers came out with a story documenting that they've known at least 150 high-level clergy, cardinals, bishops that are members of not only the P2 Masonic Lodge, but others. And that kind of shot the hell out of their story, didn't it? And First Freemasonry publicly, back then, said, we don't have anything to do with the Satanic Hellfire Club. Then the Hellfire Club was publicly disbanded, so to speak, by the government. Okay, so we got the government working together here. So they must have some control. They must have some, connections, right? And you know what does that remind me of? That reminds me of when, for some strange reason, the Jesuits back at the time, right prior to the American Revolution, decided to really, let's just say it the way it was. The Vatican said, we've had enough of these guys. They're causing too much trouble, stealing too much money. They're getting kicked out of all countries. We got to get rid of them. And for public consumption, the Vatican said, we are disbanding the Jesuits. What a crock of shit. They never disbanded them. They did the same thing they did here with the Hellfire Club. And what they did really, I think, was, and why? Because the Vatican and the Jesuits, they work like hand in glove. One's the good guy, one's the bad guy. And they play that game all the time. And they're not going to disband them. But they had to do it for public consumption. So they do that. And during that time, basically, everybody thinks, oh no, they're no longer here. So now they're working undercover, which makes them even more dangerous. And the whole story was for public consumption. They were still organizing. They were still working. And the leader of the Jesuits, who they said was in jail and died, really didn't, I don't think. And he was actually a conduit with Ben Franklin and the rest of these people to make sure that they could organize this American Revolution. Because, these people, you think that America was smart enough to pit Britain against France and do all those things? It had to be worked out behind the scenes. So the Jesuits did it. It also, it also made their enemies, which there were many in America, think, well, we don't have to worry about them anymore. Boy, you had to worry more about them. So there's a big connection, and there should be a lot more research done on this guy, Lorenzo Ricci, the Jesuit general, and that he wasn't dead, and that he actually came to America in the guise of somebody called the Professor, and met with Franklin many times and others. Actually, he was instrumental in many things before and after the American Revolution. And that's what Charles Thompson was talking about when he said that this country owes its existence to the agency of Providence, i.e., the Vatican. Yeah. Isn't it funny how they always come up, but never for public consumption do you hear anything bad about them, outside of the fact that they may have abused 25 million children. That's okay. Hey, it's just a couple priests, just a couple bad apples in the barrel, right? Oh boy. That whole Vatican is just a bunch of rotten apples in a rotten barrel. But anyway, they did the same thing here. So they publicly the government now gets involved here in England, disbands the Hellfire Club, acting on orders from people that are tied in with the club. Later, quietly, the club was reconstituted. Just like the Jesuits then, miraculously in 1825, wasn't it? After things had been moving smoothly in America with the Constitution, so now they can get all the Jesuits can come into America under freedom of religion. and the Revolutionary War was successful. So now what they do? They reconstituted, they reconstructed, they brought back the Jesuits. Okay, they paid a good enough price. Yeah, what a crock of shit. And you think all these historians will ever look at this? Hell no. Hell no. Okay, Philip I, Duke of Warrington, who was the second person of nobility to be the Grand Master of England's Freemasons, Grand Lodge, I gave you, in 1723, I believe it was president of this Hellfire Club. He was a member of the House of Lords. In 1726, he left England and was basically brought into ill repute by the Masons, who distanced themselves from him. George Lee, Earl of Lichfield, was also another prominent Mason who was a member of the Hellfire Club. Now, Benjamin Franklin, who was the head of the American Freemasons in various capacities, and also the head of the Rosicrucians, they don't talk about this. All we know is he flew a kite, and he was a great, he had newspapers, right? And Ben could do everything. Yeah, he could. He was a smart man. But he was also a Freemason and a Rosicrucian, working together with these group of people, also in the Hellfire Club. All right. So he was the head of the Rosicrucians and a number of other secret occult groups, and he was also, oh my goodness, a member of the Hellfire Club. Why don't we ever hear about that? And then when you try to prove it, my goodness, it is as difficult to hell as hell, and when you come up with stuff, everybody debunks it anyway. But that's really, get it in your mind that what we're doing here is putting this story out. Everybody has a story, right? We listen to the stories of the people on the left. We listen to the stories of the people on the right. We listen to the historians. Well, here's a story for you. And it's not meant to do anything. It's not meant to overthrow the country. It's not meant to do anything more than to say, hey, do you want to really know the truth? That's all they keep saying to you. You hear the left go, oh, the right is lying, we need to get to the truth. And the left goes, oh, the left is lying, and we need to get to the truth. And then all the historians go, we need to get to the truth. Nobody reads history anymore. Well, here's some help for you guys. That's all it is. And my question is, why doesn't anybody want to talk about it when there are just enough facts to get this out there? I remember doing a story about George Washington and that he died a Catholic. Everybody went, oh my God, no, he was Episcopalian. And then we talked about the crest. That was really kind of interesting, his family crest, if you look into that. And we talked about Washington's connections with the same organizations we're talking about and why he turned over the construction of Washington, D.C., the plans for Washington, D.C., and if you read them, he turned them over to the occult, so the whole city is full of these occult symbols and the way it's masterminded and laid out. What do you think the obelisk is sitting there in this pond is there, and it's a reflective pond, and it's all occult. Now, if he was a straight arrow, they wouldn't even build the capital of the United States in Washington, D.C. on Carroll family, the first bishop of the Jesuits' land. They would have put it where? A better place would have been Philadelphia, right? Anywhere. But that place. So why doesn't anybody ever question this stuff? Because really, they've got you hoodwinked here. Because they're going to say that anybody that speaks this way is crazy. Anybody that speaks this way, it's hate speech against these holy priests, this Vatican organization, and all of these politicians who are, there's a few bad politicians, but there's only a couple bad apples. All the top dogs in all these big countries work hand in glove with these people. You can bet on that. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal. Don't go away. Come right back.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Okay, we're back for the second half hour on this Tuesday of the Investigative Journal. Go to my website at greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com. Get shows going back, way back, regarding the Vatican-led New World Order. Also, my old website that I started way back in 2003 and 4, Arctic Beacon, has been really hijacked. It's not mine anymore. And when you go there, don't think it's mine. And I'm going to try to get it back. So that's where it stands. Okay, we've got to get moving on this because we only have a short half hour here, and I want to finish with the Hellfire Club. The first thing people are going to say is, okay, can you prove that Benjamin Franklin was a member of the Hellfire Club and that even the Hellfire Club existed? And the problem, yeah, okay. Is anybody out there, give me some, debunk this story. The problem with these stories is nobody wants to debate you. Right? Nobody wants to debate you. Hey, if it didn't exist and Franklin wasn't a member and all these other guys weren't, then okay, give me some information. Show me why. But you can't get to that point. That's the problem. You can't get to the point of debating anybody on a lot of these stories we do because they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to give you, competing evidence because, one, they may not be able to disprove it. Two, they're better off at just discrediting you and calling you names. So what is that doing? I constantly hear the right wing now, and Fox News and all those people go, we don't have an opportunity to have freedom of speech because nobody's debating the issues. The Democrats will say that too. And what they're doing is quelching free speech and just calling us names. Look at what's going on. Well, they've done both of them, both the left and the right, does it to these stories. So they're both lying to you. Because if they were really truthful, they'd want to hear this. And if they disagreed, fine. Somebody come and prove to me this is not true. Because the whole idea of, you ever try to uncover a secret society? I mean, it's not like they leave you messages or tell you who they are. That's why they're secret. So it's not easy. But all we're trying to do is giving you information enough to say there's probable cause here to look into this story, right? And the best way to find out and to flesh out whether it's truthful or not is to have debate with people that disagree. But they don't want to go there. They want to just call you names and say you're a conspiracy theorist and you're crazy. This can't be true, and they just wipe it off the earth, wipe it off the face of the earth. No story exists like this. Well, it does. So we'll continue. And hopefully there's some brave soul out there on the left or right who wants to come in and debate it. Benjamin Franklin, okay, we're talking about, was the head of American Freemasons, right? In various capacities. And also the head of the Rosicrucians. And a number of other secret occult groups. And was a member of this Hellfire Club, according to certain researchers back then. Benjamin Franklin, okay, now this is going to shock you. Satanism was not mentioned in Be Wise as a Serpent's book. And that book, I'm trying to think who wrote that. But anyway, it was never mentioned there. But it was important. Satanists, who was a part of the order of the, the Quest. That is the group which has been entrusted with the plans for bringing in, they say, now this might be up for debate, to continue on this so-called New World Order push. And it's a New World Order of Satan. Remember, John Jacob Astor was very involved with Freemasonry, as were a number of his intimate friends such as Governor DeWitt Clinton, General George A. Armstrong. In regards to the Hellfire Club, the Earl of Sandwich, that's where the word sandwich came from. When they make a sandwich out of him? The Earl of Sandwich, Benjamin Franklin, and Sir Francis Dashwood were leaders in the Hellfire Club and were also postmaster generals of the British Postal Service. Maybe that's how Franklin became involved and understood what to do. All were Freemasons. Their positions as postmaster generals allowed them total access to the mail and allowed them to spy on the communications of in the 18th century. Before they learned how to, now they do it virtually and digitally. The man who became postmaster general after Dashwood, who moved on to be the MP in the British Parliament, was the Mason John Wilkes. John Wilkes took over in 1766 and in 1774 was Lord Mayor of London. Remember I told you London, the city of London, is not a part of England? Wilkes then brought one of the original Hellfire Club members, a friend of his, Willis Hill, to help him with the postal service. The next postmaster general was totally corrupt man, the Earl of Sandwich, who served until 1771. Ben Franklin spent the summers of 1772, 3, and 4 at Dashwood's estate in West Wycombe. The caves under Dashwood's estate at West Wycombe were used for satanic sexual rituals, they say, which were participated in by none other than one of your founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin. Okay. That's just a little bit of information that, of course, is difficult to verify. But all of the things you hear about Franklin's connections to the Jesuits through Lorenzo Ricci, the Jesuit general, and the orchestration of the war, and his trips. You've heard of Benjamin Franklin as he was considered a, man for all seasons, right? Smart man. He liked late nights as well as early mornings. So, all of these things are up for grabs, I think, for Americans to really understand their history. And I'm not saying throw the whole country in. I'd like to keep all of this country the way, I'd love to keep every statue, everything American. Let's just move forward. But we can't ever do it without really understanding our history. And that doesn't mean America, in its theory, and many people were bad people, or the country's ideas, the way it was formed wasn't a bad idea. It's just that there was more to this, a story behind the story, what Charles Thompson, back during the time of the Revolutionary War and after, told when he retired and started writing about it, and said, there's really a lot more to this, but I'm afraid to tell you people because it's going to really ruin your impressions of these founding fathers. And he hoped that the leaders to come would change and for the good, but they haven't. Things just moved on in progression because the same elite secret group runs the country and the world today. And that's why you see all of this crazy things going on in the world. And, you know, what do we have even on the left now? All these lefties, they're trying to get rid of America, everything about it. Trying to get rid of sexes. You know, they don't even want you to really understand if you're a man or a woman. And they want to destroy all the American statues because we can't live in a world where there was slavery. Well, hell, then get rid of the Vatican and the Jesuits because they were involved with slavery up to their necks. But that's okay. But they're the same ones calling for the abolishment of everything behind the scenes. They want to change the education. Get rid of this, get rid of that. They want to change capitalism to socialism. Well, who created socialism? The Jesuits, with the Paraguay experiments in the 1600s. So we're in a lot of trouble because we have nowhere to go with this story, and we can't even get it out. There's no freedom of the press here in America. Okay, let's finish this up because we don't have much time today. Go to greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com. You can also catch me on YouTube. First Amendment Radio puts up all these YouTubes. So when you look at it and you want to donate, come to greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com directly to me, and you can keep this show on the air. Okay. If you really want to get to the bottom of things, or at least put the information out there, and I would... You know, I said it a long time ago. I had a lot of information ever since I lived in Italy for 7 years and understood this back in the 80s. And I was always interested in understanding these things, but I did not want them to be considered truth. I wanted really for all of them to be debunked because I was born a Catholic. I love America. I didn't want to see this happen. But nobody ever did. All they did is call you crazy, and then I started seeing how they treated you, and I started saying, you know, this is the truth. Because why did they want to hide it so much? And if they just wanted to hide it, you know, for what? Did they want to hide it for the same reason Charles Thompson wanted to hide it back around the Revolutionary War? Or did they want to hide it because they don't want this to end? And they want to keep their power, and they want to keep all of their craziness going on. So I thought, since we were talking about Satanism, I'd go back a ways. And I wrote this article years and years ago. And if you're talking about Satanism in the Hellfire Club, well, let's talk about it in the catacombs of the Vatican. And you know, somebody once said, and I wrote this, I said, well, you know, an article. I'm just going to read some of my article, then add some things. So, well, yeah, things that I've learned over the years. So I wrote this a long time ago. And I said, while Mass is being said in the Sistine Chapel, and tourists are being shown the works of Michelangelo and such, deep within the bowels of the Vatican sits a large circular room with 13 chambers, each leading to a distinct catacomb. And then when a mummified body is placed in front of each doorway, a young child is then brutally sacrificed with a long golden knife during what is said to be a secret induction ceremony for new members of the Illuminati, better known as, well, we'll just call them for what they are, New World Order, although it's an old world order. As a young freelance reporter in Rome during the early 80s, I heard many rumors of these secret ceremonies from local shop owners, several drunken priests, and a couple of local clairvoyants or fortune-telling card readers, one who apparently advised and guided the film career of the famous Italian film director Federico Fellini. I heard he didn't make a movie unless he went to see this woman, okay? Although a product of a Catholic education and graduate of Catholic high school and then went on to college, I still couldn't help but wonder if these stories about the brutal child sacrifices were actually true. Now, I'm just paraphrasing. I just want to add something here. When I first heard about this stuff, I said, no, it can't be true. Come on, this is crazy. And I really did think the people that told me were a little bit out of their mind. And basically, when I started to understand this story and said the same thing myself, now I understood why people said the same thing about me. Okay. Now, while on a story assignment or covering the weekly papal address, I remember sneaking around the Vatican on one occasion, taking a flight of stairs down to the basement level in search of a secret room and catacombs. Of course, I never found the secret room or a hidden doorway leading to the tombs. My secret Indiana Jones hunt for the Satan's den interrupted by a Vatican security guard who escorted me to the top of the stairs after showing my press card and saying, I was lost. Oh, boy. And one night alone in this place, and I know I could break the biggest story of my lifetime, I thought to myself, as I walked through St. Peter's Square and looked up at the sculptures of the 12 apostles staring down at me from the Vatican roof. And adding something here, I look back on all those days I walked by that obelisk there in St. Peter's Square and all those statues and all the gold and everything. And I remember my first reaction when I got there is, because I think I was an atheist when I got there, I said, oh man, maybe I can get back to the church. And with that kind of childish dream to fulfill what I was taught in grade school, in high school, I found out just the opposite. So Rome, folks, it's like a huge small town with many, many neighborhoods, functioning like dozens of little villages within the city proper, each having its own distinct feel and flavor. And if I could add, no one knows that better than me. I think I've walked every cobblestone road in that city. It has a real interesting kind of feel, not like American cities with the hustle and bustle. There are cars, but they're little. And it has this feeling of a lot of little towns within a big place. And you go from one neighborhood or quartiera to another, and it's a different flavor, a different feeling. And it's really kind of an interesting place. And back then, it was very, very safe. Never would you have to worry about getting mugged like, I almost did in New York 3 times. It was very safe. So occasionally I call friends that I know there, and they say things have changed in Rome, Greg. There are places you can't even walk into, and there's a lot of garbage all over because we've let in millions of these migrants, and the Pope is saying, you have to let them in, bring them in, and they're destroying Rome and the rest of Italy, just like they're doing it in other European countries, and just like what's happening now. You think there's any kind of coincidence here? And there's no orchestration between what goes on in Europe and here? Come on. So I haven't been back there in a long time. And maybe I'd like to go visit again and see if what they're telling me is true. But the people I talk to, I pretty well understand what they're telling me. Now, going back to the story, that particular day, after trying to uncover the exact location of these secret induction ceremonies, I stopped for a little cheese and a glass of wine on the first narrow cobblestone street next to the Vatican, known in English as the Street of the Whores, Strade di Butan. Okay, that's the name of the street. Okay, that's what it's known as. I didn't know that when I went there. Now, every day in Rome about that time, you sit down, used to look for a little wine bar with then a little cheese. You get to talk to somebody and take the edge off, so to speak. Well, so there I am. And according to the locals, the street received this rather unusual name since for hundreds of years it housed many of the whores whose primarily clientele were Vatican cardinals, bishops, and priests, as well as any visiting members of the clergy, coming to Rome. After they have their little mass in the Vatican, they go, let's go over to the street. It's really parallel to St. Peter's Square. And let's have some fun. Okay. After World War II, The prostitution on the street eventually moved to a more secretive location, making way now for stores engaged in the lucrative business of selling religious paraphernalia like rosaries, pictures of popes, and holy water. You believe? I remember talking to a guy, I said, "Is that holy water? What is that? You just pour a glass of water in there and sell it?" And basically he kind of laughed and said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, I won't tell anybody." As I sat having a glass of wine, I think it was white. Well, you know why I say that? I never drink red. Every now and then when I have fish. But anyway, as I sat having a glass of wine and going through the Italian papers, the main headline read how Cardinal Pope Marcinkus, Paul Marcinkus, head of the Vatican Bank from 71 to 89, was indicted by Italian authorities as an accessory in the $3.5 billion collapse of Banco Ambrosiano, a big bank in Rome, an Italian financial institution with close ties to the Vatican Bank. Oh, what a corrupt organization that is. Let me check the hour here. Okay, we got about 6 minutes. I won't be able to get through the whole thing. Maybe we'll pick it up tomorrow, if God willing and the creek don't rise. Although I tried many times without success to interview Marcinkus, since he was from my hometown of Chicago, the case never came to trial in Italy, as courts corruptly ruled that as a Vatican employee he was immune from prosecution. The Vatican Bank also refused to admit legal responsibility for the Bank of Ambrosiano's downfall, but did acknowledge quote-unquote moral involvement. What the hell is that? I remember reading that. Yeah, moral involvement here. But they didn't do anything to bring it down. And they had to pay $241 million to creditors. And the payoff to get Marcinkus out. Little did I know that this story, the 1978 death of the Pope, John Paul I, the murder of the bank's president, Roberto Calvi, found dangling under the Blackfriars Bridge in London. A little-known mafia figure named Mario Cuomo, not the former mayor of New York, and a mysterious woman named Maria would all help in putting the pieces together of a larger, more sinister puzzle here. So did you get what I'm saying? I'm looking at the death of the Pope. I'm following this story about how Marcinkus may be involved in the Calvi murder. He then is found dangling under the Blackfriars Bridge in London. In fact, his son just recently is still trying to get to the bottom of this. Marcinkus is no longer with us. And then a little-known figure, and this is a story I told. I met a guy named Mario Cuomo, and what he turned out to be was quite interesting. And then this mysterious woman named Maria, and it all put the Satanism together, this corruption, how the mob works together with them. It was an interesting thing from my perspective. Not quite as, what would you say, not quite as worthy of the silver screen as Godfather 3, but, it was a good personal story that taught me a lot. Now, although still incomplete, this puzzle I uncovered in the 80s all leads to this direct involvement of members of the Freemasons, the Jesuits, through groups like P2. The P2 Lodge, the Priority, the Sion, and others, as well as deep involvement of the Vatican, the hub and centerpiece of this secret worldwide organization known to the public as the Illuminati. Let's just make it for public consumption that. But known by members as the family or the order. Okay? So here I am learning about this stuff. I remember writing this story, and sitting here now, I only got 2 minutes, so why don't I just reflect a little bit, and we can continue this tomorrow if you'd like. And I can also put it up again. You know what happened? This story used to be on my old website, the Arctic Beacon. Then it got I lost a lot of those, my articles going back 15 years. And a lot of people put these on their website, so I track them down. And this one I found somewhere else that somebody else put up. And so a lot of them I've recovered, at least the good ones. I wrote a lot of bad ones, so I don't care about those. And this was fairly good. Reminded me of a few things and how I really figured this out. Or tried to get, I should say, when I say figure it out, all I'm trying to do is simple, research. I mean, I'm not looking to write another cult book about the Vatican. I'm not even looking to really capitalize off this. What I always wondered was, why is this huge story never told? And it's incredible. And I find that many Americans are numb to this story. And in fact, I learned more about it from people walking the street in Italy back in the 80s, because I guess they live with it every day. And it was really lucky that I went there, because I do not think that I would be talking about it if I didn't. And guess what would have happened if I didn't? I probably would have been a member of their club and making millions, cheating and stealing and deception. Because, what you don't know, sometimes you do the wrong things for the right reasons, right? Or the right thing for the wrong reasons, whatever I meant by that. So I'd probably be just like one of them. So look at it from both ways sometimes. And now I'm going to decide what would have been better. I'll figure that out and tell you tomorrow on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.